The story of Joe Biden is one that spans decades of American political history. From his humble beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, to the corridors of the White House, Biden's career has been shaped by resilience, personal tragedy, and a commitment to public service. Throughout his life, Biden has faced both victories and failures, but his story is ultimately one of perseverance. Today, we explore the life and political career of the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden. Joe Biden was born on November 20th, 1942, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. His father, Joseph Sir, worked as a used car salesman, while his mother, Catherine Eugenia Finnegan, played a crucial role in raising him. The Bidens were a close-knit, working-class family with deep Irish Catholic roots. During his childhood, Biden struggled with a speech impediment, stuttering, which he would later overcome by practicing reciting poetry in front of a mirror. Despite the challenge, he became known for his determination and resilience. His family moved to Delaware when he was young, a state that would eventually become his political base. Biden attended the University of Delaware, where he majored in history and political science. It was during this time that his interest in politics began to take shape. After completing his undergraduate degree, he attended Syracuse University Law School, where he earned his Juris Doctor in 1968. While Joe Biden was building a promising future, tragedy struck. Shortly after his election to the U.S. Senate in 1972, his wife, Nelia, and their one-year-old daughter, Naomi, were killed in a car accident. His two sons, Bo and Hunter, survived but were seriously injured. This event profoundly affected Biden, leading him to question whether he should continue in politics. Ultimately, his sense of duty to his constituents and his desire to make a difference kept him in public service. Despite his grief, Biden was sworn into the Senate in 1973. He would commute daily from Delaware to Washington, D.C. on Amtrak, a routine that earned him the nickname Amtrak Joe. This practice allowed him to balance his responsibilities as a single father and a U.S. senator, and it became an important part of his political image as someone who valued his connection to ordinary Americans. Joe Biden spent over 3 decades in the U.S. Senate, where he became known for his work on foreign relations, criminal justice reform, and economic policy. As a member and later the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Biden developed expertise on global issues, particularly in relation to Europe, the Middle East, and nuclear arms control. One of the most notable moments during his Senate career was his role in the negotiations surrounding the Balkans conflict in the 1990s. Biden was a strong advocate for U.S. intervention to stop ethnic cleansing in the region, a stance that would shape his foreign policy views for years to come. He also supported the Iraq War in 2003, though he would later admit that his vote was a mistake, becoming a vocal critic of how the war was handled. On domestic issues, Biden played a key role in crafting the 1994 crime bill, a controversial piece of legislation that increased funding for law enforcement but also led to an increase in mass incarceration, particularly in minority communities. This bill would later become a point of contention during his presidential campaigns, as many argued it had contributed to systemic racism in the criminal justice system. In 2008, Joe Biden was selected as the running mate for then-Senator Barack Obama, a decision that was largely influenced by Biden's experience in foreign policy and his ability to connect with working-class voters. The Obama-Biden ticket won the 2008 election, and Biden was sworn in as the 47th Vice President of the United States on January 20th, 2009. As Vice President, Biden was heavily involved in both foreign and domestic policy. He was tasked with overseeing the implementation of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, a massive stimulus package aimed at reviving the U.S. economy in the wake of the Great Recession. Biden's management of the Recovery Act was widely praised for its efficiency and transparency. In terms of foreign policy, Biden played a significant role in shaping the Obama administration's approach to Iraq and Afghanistan. He was also a strong advocate for the Affordable Care Act, which became one of the signature achievements of the Obama administration. Biden's 8 years as vice president were marked by his close personal and professional relationship with President Obama. The two men developed a deep bond, and Obama would later refer to Biden as his brother. This partnership was particularly visible during the administration's efforts to pass landmark legislation and during moments of national crisis. After serving 2 terms as vice president, Joe Biden initially decided not to run for president in 2016, largely due to the death of his son Bo from brain cancer in 2015. However, following the turbulent presidency of Donald Trump, Biden announced his candidacy for the 2020 election. His campaign focused on restoring the soul of America, emphasizing unity, decency, and a return to competent governance. Biden's message resonated with voters who were frustrated with the divisive rhetoric of the Trump administration. Despite facing a crowded Democratic primary field, Biden secured the nomination and chose Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate, marking the first time a woman of color had been selected for the position of vice president. The 2020 election was unlike any in modern history, taking place during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Biden campaign was forced to adapt to the challenges of campaigning during a public health crisis, relying heavily on virtual events and socially distanced gatherings. Despite these obstacles, Biden won the election with over 81 million votes, the most in U.S. history, defeating President Trump. Joe Biden was inaugurated as the 46th President of the United States on January 20th, 2021, in the midst of several national crises. His early days in office were dominated by efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic, with a focus on vaccine distribution and economic relief. The American Rescue Plan, a $1.9 trillion stimulus package, was one of the first major legislative achievements of his administration. Biden's presidency has also been marked by efforts to tackle climate change, racial inequality, and rebuilding international alliances. His administration rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement and worked to repair relationships with traditional U.S. allies that had been strained during the Trump years. However, his presidency has not been without challenges. The withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan in August 2021, after nearly 2 decades of war, led to widespread criticism over the chaotic nature of the exit. Domestically, Biden has faced significant opposition from Republicans in Congress, particularly regarding his proposed infrastructure plan and efforts to expand voting rights. As of today, Joe Biden's presidency is still unfolding. His long career in public service, marked by both triumphs and setbacks, reflects the complexities of American politics. Whether his legacy will be defined by his ability to unite a deeply divided country or the challenges he faced along the way remains to be seen. One thing is clear: Joe Biden's journey is far from over. As the 46th President of the United States, he continues to navigate a rapidly changing world, guided by the lessons of a life spent in public service. His story is a testament to the power of resilience, hope, and the enduring promise of democracy. Special thanks to our research and production team. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts on Joe Biden's journey. Stay tuned for more in-depth documentaries on world leaders.